Good afternoon, everybody. Happy afternoon, all of you. Welcome to AIMS India live session, Biology for 10th class. In this video, we are going to discuss about life process in animals. Generally, the life process is a very important, which can be defined as the process which help in survival and perpetuation of living organisms. So in this video, we are going to discuss some important concepts related to life process. They are nutrition, respiration, excretion, and circulation. So all these four concepts in a beautiful manner, let us discuss. Life process in animals, nutrition in amoeba. As we all know that amoeba is unicellular organism. This amoeba feeds on plankton, bacteria, microscopic algae, and small unicellular organisms. It uses any part of its body to capture its food. The mode of nutrition in amoeba is holozoic nutrition. Holozoic means the nutrition in which organism consume particulate food. The process of obtaining food in amoeba, it is called phagocytosis. Here in the image it is clearly mentioned. Let us see. When it senses food in its surrounding, it extends its pseudopodia. It extends its pseudopodia in that direction and moves towards it like this. After extending pseudopodia, it engulfs the food and form a food vacuole around it. When the food enters its body, the amoeba forms a food vacuole around it, which contains hydrolytic enzymes to digest the food. That's why the digestion in amoeba is intracellular digestion. When the food is digested, the unwanted waste materials are released out through the body's surface by means of diffusion process. So like this, the digestion takes place in amoeba. Next, nutrition in paramecium. Paramecium also similar manner. The paramecium is also a unicellular organism. The food is bought by the lashing of movement of cilia to a small opening called cytostome. The oral groove, cytophagy is present here. The tuft of cilia will push the food materials into the body. After that, food vacuoles is formed. Again, digestion takes place in the food vacuole. So let us see the nutrition in human beings. The digestive system. What is digestion? The general definition of digestion is the process of breaking down of large and complex molecules of food into simple and small molecules by the action of hydrolytic enzymes to diffuse through gut wall. So in this particular slide, we are going to discuss about the different parts of human digestive system. Human digestive system is divided into alimentary canal and digestive glands. So this is the alimentary canal. Let us see one by one part. Mouth and oral cavity. Mouth and oral cavity or buccal cavity. Next, pharynx. Next, esophagus, long tube-like structure. It is also called a food pipe. Next, stomach. Stomach. Small intestine. Small intestine, it is divided into three parts. And large intestine, it is also divided into three parts. The parts of small intestine, if you take the first part, duodenum. Stomach opens into duodenum. Then jejunum. It's a long structure. And the terminal part of small intestine, it is called ileum. It is more coiled. Next, parts of large intestine. Large intestine is also divided into three parts. Terminal part, this is the cecum, the first part, then colon, and the terminal part of large intestine is rectum. Rectum opens out through anus. The starting point of digestive system is mouth and the ending point is anus. So the digestive system consisting of alimentary canal and the associated digestive glands during digestion. So the associated digestive glands, if you see in this picture, liver, pancreas, and intestinal glands, salivary glands, these are all the associated digestive glands. So during digestion, carbohydrates are hydrolyzed into glucose by the action of amylase enzyme, and the proteins are digested into amino acids by the action of proteolytic enzymes like trypsin, chymotrypsin, amylopsin, etc. And next, fats are digested by fatty acids by the action of lipase enzyme. Fats are finally converted to fatty acids and glycerol. So let us see how the digestion takes place in the different parts of digestive system of human beings. So name of the digestive, here one chart given, which indicates a simple concept of digestion, different parts of our digestive system. The digestion begins in the mouth. Mouth, saliva is secreted by salivary glands. The enzyme present in the saliva is salivary amylase. It is alkaline in nature, somewhat basic in nature. The main action of saliva is it breaks down the starch and glycogen, which are complex, converted to maltose sugar, and the mucus moistens and lubricates the food to form bolus. Finally, we can say the partly digested food in the oral cavity or mouth, it is called bolus. The mastication process takes place with the help of teeth, and which is thoroughly mixes with the mucus, and partial digestion takes place. The product is bolus. Next part, esophagus. Meanwhile, that food bolus enters into the stomach through esophagus. The esophagus is long tubular structure. There are no digestive glands or no digestion takes place. Hence, it is not represented here. Only peristalsis movement takes place, where the wave-like movement which pushes that food from mouth to stomach through esophagus. Food pipe. Next, stomach. Stomach is a muscular wall. It is a bag-like structure. It consisting of digestive juice, gastric juice, containing enzymes, pepsin, gastric lipase, and also hydrochloric acid. In order to digest the food materials in the stomach, acidic medium is required. In the oral cavity, alkaline medium is required for the activity of ptyalin enzyme. For the activity of pepsin, gastric lipase, acidic medium is required. That's why this hydrochloric acid provides that, fulfills that acidic medium. Pepsin, first it is produced in inactive form. It is converted to active form by the action of HCl. Pepsinogen is the inactive form, converted to pepsin by HCl. After that, it breaks down proteins into peptones. It acts on the proteins and converted to peptones. The next, gastric lipase. It acts on emulsified fats and convert them into fatty acids and glycerol. The action of hydrochloric acid, it converts the alkaline food to acidic food. So actually, the action of these gastric juice enzymes takes place in the next part, duodenum. So stomach and mouth, the partial digestion takes place. The partly digested food in the stomach, it is called as a chyme because it is acidic. The chyme enters into the next part of the digestive system. The process of digestion proceeds. When food enters the small intestine, duodenum, first part, it is mixed with the bile juice and pancreatic juice. The action of bile and pancreatic juice takes place in duodenum. So digestion of the food in small intestine, duodenum. Duodenum is the part where maximum digestion takes place. So here the digestive juice which enters into the duodenum, bile juice from the liver, pancreatic juice from the pancreas will enter into this duodenum. The bile juice is alkaline in nature. It consists of bile salts and bile pigments. The bile salts are sodium cholate and sodium deoxycholate. So the main function of this bile juice is it neutralizes and provides alkaline medium for the action of enzymes present in the duodenum. And it also emulsifies fats. Emulsification means the complex fats are converted to microcolloidal substances, small particles, by means of by the action of bile salts. Next, pancreatic juice. From pancreas, it enters through different ducts like bile duct, bile juice enters, cystic duct, pancreatic duct. These through ducts, these enzymes reach the small intestine, duodenum. So the composition of this pancreatic juice, if you take, it containing several enzymes: trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase, pancreatic amylase, pancreatic lipase. These are the enzymes present in the pancreatic juice. What is their action? So trypsin and chymotrypsin acts on proteins. They cleave proteins, means digest proteins, and those proteins converted into polypeptides. Again, the carboxypeptides act on polypeptides and convert them into peptides and amino acids. Amino acids are the end products of digestion of proteins. Then pancreatic amylase acts on the starch and glycogen. These two are complex which are already the action of thiolin enzyme or amylase, salivary amylase continuing. So that partly digested starch and glycogen are further digested by the pancreatic amylase and converted to simple sugar maltose. Next, pancreatic lipase. This pancreatic lipase is the enzyme which acts on partly digested fats or emulsified fats and converts them into fatty acids and glycerol. Next, digestion in the intestine, intestinal juice. The intestinal glands produce the digestive juice called intestinal juice. It is also called succus entericus. It is also alkaline in nature because for the action of enzymes, the pH, the medium of pH is very important. So alkaline medium is required for the action of these enzymes present in the intestinal juice. They are erupsin, invertase, lactose, actually his spelling mistake, lactase, maltase, enterokinase. Okay. So erupsin acts on peptides and converts them into amino acids. Invertase act on sucrose. Sucrose and invertase is also called sucrase also. It breaks this sucrose complex carbohydrate to glucose and galactose, simple. Then lactase enzyme acts on lactose sugar, milk sugar, convert it into glucose and galactose. Maltose is converted by maltase enzyme to glucose. Then enterokinase, actually it is produced in the intestine. It activates the trypsinogen into trypsin. It is produced in inactive form, trypsinogen. So that the active form of trypsinogen is trypsin. So enterokinase is the intestinal enzyme which acts on this trypsinogen and converts it into trypsin. So this is the digestion of food. The chyme further digested in the duodenum. The maximum process of digestion takes place in the small intestine. Next, come to the concept of excretion. It is another life process in animals, excretion. So, excretion in humans, the urinary system is the main excretory system of the human body, and it consisting of three parts. Mainly these four parts: kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra. So this forms the urinary system or excretory system. So let us see how the arrangement and structure. Each kidney is made up of outer cortex and inner medulla. If you take cross section, we can see clearly outer cortex, inner medulla. Next, it is made up of millions of tiny filtering units. They are called nephrons. This also, they are microscopic structure. You cannot see it on naked eye. Nephrons are the structural and functional units of kidneys. In functions of kidneys, the blood brings the waste from different parts of the body to the kidneys through the special blood vessel. They are called renal arteries. Renal artery. Renal represents the kidney. The artery which brings blood to the kidney, it is called renal artery. Then it is divided into several small branches when it enters inside, called arterioles. Here concept we are seeing. Next, nephrons. After that reaching the impure blood, then the filtration starts in the nephrons. That's why they are called structural units of kidneys. After filtration, the cleaned blood or pure blood is again carried to remaining parts of the body by means of a special artery called, special vein called renal vein. So renal artery and renal vein, these are the two important blood vessels associated with the urinary system. Then ureters. So after the purification, the filtrates or the extracts which are present, they are time to time, they are passed into the urinary bladder through ureters. Okay, ureters are the tube-like structures. There are two ureters are present. So they carry urine from kidneys to urinary bladder. Urinary bladder is a sac-like structure which stores the urine temporarily. After the urinary bladder is filled, then it is passed out through urethra. So this is the concept of excretion in humans. Next, concept of respiration. Respiration in humans takes place in lungs, pulmonary respiration. The path of air in the respiratory system can be shown as follows. Here, this is the respiratory system. So the path consisting of nose or external nostrils, then internal nasal cavity, then opens into pharynx, then opens into windpipe or trachea. It opens into, or it divides into two parts called bronchi, and later they finally divides into branchioles. And these branchioles opens into lungs, where they opens into small units, structural functional units of respiration or lungs, that is alveoli. They are also called air sacs. So let us see nostrils and nasal passages. They are lined with a moist ciliated mucous membrane here. And what is the necessity of this mucous membrane here means it traps the dust, germs, and any other worms which are present in the air. The warm air, when enters into hot air, when enters inside, it may damage the respiratory system. So it cools that warm air before it enters the lungs. Next, throat. or pharynx region. Pharynx is the common passage for both air and food. So it has a closing called glottis. This glottis is guarded by a flip-like structure called epiglottis. This epiglottis, this flip-like structure, this epiglottis will regulate the entry of food and air. So during swallowing, epiglottis closes the glottis and prevents the entry of food into the respiratory tract. Then larynx. Larynx is also called a voice box. This is the larynx. Larynx is formed of 9 cartilages, 2 sets of muscles, and 2 pairs of vocal cords. Vocal cords are the sound producing organs. The main function of this larynx is to produce sound. That's why it is also called voice box. Next, trachea. Trachea is a tube-like structure. This tube-like structure is also made up of cartilage, and it's a long tube connecting neck to branchie. Forward, it is formed of cartilaginous rings. C-shaped cartilaginous rings are present in this trachea, which prevents the trachea from being collapsed. Okay. Next, branchie. Branchie are the branches of trachea. Trachea divides into 2, left branchie and right branchie. Branchie is a plural term. We are calling it as bronchus. Left bronchus and right bronchus. Then this bronchus further divided into small tubes called as bronchioles. These bronchioles opens into internally alveoli or air sacs, where the exchange of gases takes place. The passage of air, the carry air from the trachea into the lungs. This trachea, air passes into. So this is the from nose, nasal cavity. From that, it opens into pharynx. From pharynx, trachea. From trachea, bronchi. From bronchi, bronchioles. And from bronchioles, the air enters into alveoli, which are richly supplied with blood capillaries, and where the exchange of gas takes place. Oxygen and carbon dioxide. Oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange takes place in the alveoli with blood. So this is the concept of respiration in human beings. Let us enter into the next part, the process, life process, structure of heart or circulatory system. The size of the heart is one's fist size, closed fist size is 12 centimeter. The average is given 12 centimeter length and 9 centimeter width. The location, it is located near the left side of the chest cavity, and it is muscular structure enclosed in double layered wall or sac-like structure. It is called as a pericardium. This pericardium is filled with this pinkish layer, filled with a fluid. It is called as a pericardial fluid. And there are 4 chambers are present in the heart: upper 2 chambers, lower 2 chambers. Upper 2 chambers are called atrium or auricles, right auricle, left auricle, and lower chambers are called ventricles, right ventricle, left ventricle. Always remember, our left side represent the right chambers. Our left hand side represent the right chambers. Next, there are valves are present in the heart because the heart is a sophisticated organ. It is well designed such that there is no mixing of blood. To prevent the mixing of blood and to regulate the flow of blood, some muscular structures are present. They are called valves. These valves, there is a difference between VALL and VALVES. Valves are such structures which regulate the flow of blood. Just like overhead tank to taps connection, valves are arranged to regulate the flow of water. In the same manner here, the pumping of blood is a very typical one. To overcome the difficulties in that mechanism, these valves are very useful. There are 4 types of valves are present. So first, tricuspid valve. A tricuspid valve is present between the right auricle and right ventricle. This junction is called as a right auriculoventricular aperture. It is guarded by tricuspid valve. Why it is named as tricuspid? There are three cusps are present. That's why it is called tricuspid valve. The next, bicuspid valve. It is guarded in the left auriculoventricular aperture. So between left auricle and left ventricle, this bicuspid valve is present. It is also called mitral valve. Next, so what this valve do is, it allows blood from ventricles into the blood vessels, and it allows blood from the auricles to ventricles, but not from ventricles to auricles. Like that, they regulate the backward flow of blood. Okay. Next, another aortic and pulmonary valve. These two are semilunar valves. Aortic valve is present at the junction of aorta, erasing aorta. So this aortic valve is a semilunar valve. 3 cusps are present. It allows blood from left ventricle to aorta or systemic artery, from where it is distributed to all parts. Next, last valve, pulmonary valve. It is also semilunar valve. It is present at the opening of this ventricle, right ventricle. This is the pulmonary valve, semilunar valve. It allows blood from right ventricle to pulmonary artery, which carries blood from right ventricle to lungs for purification. So these are the arrangement of valves. Next, apertures. There are, as we discussed, there are 2 apertures are present: left auriculoventricular aperture and right auriculoventricular aperture. Right auriculoventricular aperture, this tricuspid valve is present. Left auriculoventricular aperture, mitral valve is present. Next, blood vessels. There are 2 main types of blood vessels are present. They are the blood vessels which are leaving the heart. They are called arteries. These arteries are 3 main. Pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs. This is the pulmonary artery. Next, aorta. It is a large artery which carries oxygenated blood from left ventricle and distribute to all parts of the body. Next, another the blood vessels which are entering into the heart, they are veins, vena cavae. There are 2 vena cavae are present, that is superior vena cavae and inferior vena cavae. Superior vena cavae collects the deoxygenated blood from upper parts of the body and opens into the right atrium. And inferior vena cavae collects from the lower parts of the body and opens into the right atrium. Okay. So these are the veins, and another vein that is called pulmonary vein, which carry the oxygenated blood from lungs to left atrium. So if you take the 4 chambers of the heart, auricles, right auricle is filled with deoxygenated blood. That deoxygenated blood pumps into right ventricle. Then left auricle is filled with oxygenated blood by pulmonary vein. This is pumped to ventricle, left ventricle, and it is pumped to all parts of the body. So let us see how the mechanism occurs. So this is the chart showing the double circuit circulation. Circulation of blood. The physiology of blood circulation. Here, deoxygenated blood from all parts of the body is carried to the right auricle or right atrium, which receives the deoxygenated blood from all parts of the body through superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. When this auricle, right auricle, contracts, that deoxygenated blood enters into right ventricle. In the right ventricle, that received blood, and this right ventricle pumps the blood forced and goes into the pulmonary artery. This is the pulmonary artery. It carries the deoxygenated blood from right ventricle to lungs. Next, pulmonary artery, where the lungs, in the lungs, the oxygenation of blood takes place. Then The pulmonary artery, actually from right ventricle, pulmonary artery carries the deoxygenated blood. So this pulmonary artery, after the oxygenation from the lungs, pulmonary vein carries the oxygenated blood from lungs to the left auricle. So like this, come back. Next, when left auricle contracts, that oxygenated blood enters into left ventricle. Again, when left ventricle contracts, the oxygenated blood pumped into aorta. So this aorta, this is the aorta, carries blood or distributes blood to different organs of the body. Okay. From aorta, the blood gets circulated to different parts of the body. So this blue color represents the pulmonary circuit circulation, where the exchange of blood takes place between the heart and lungs. And this red color represents the systemic circuit circulation, where the exchange of blood takes place between heart and body parts. So this is the mechanism of circulation. So let us see the exercise, how the questions asked from this chapter. Life process. See here, 5 seconds time I will give. Try to chart the answer. The enzyme chymotrypsin is responsible for digestion of which of these proteins? What is the function of bile juice? Bile juice emulsifies fat. Next, the digested food is absorbed by which part of the digestive system? Which part? Small intestine. Okay, what are the parts which absorb the digestive food? Villi in the small intestine absorbs the digestive food. What is the end product of aerobic respiration? C6H12O6 plus 6O2 gives rise to 6CO2 plus H2O and 36 ATPs. So here carbon dioxide and water. What is the end product of anaerobic respiration? C6H12O6. Here see the question. What is the end product of anaerobic respiration actually? In muscle cells. Or what is that acid produced during anaerobic respiration in the muscle cells? Here clearly acid is mentioned, so lactic acid. If it is fermentation, ethyl alcohol. In both kinds of respiration, I mean aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration, glucose is first broken down into which molecule? What is that process? Glycolysis. What happens during glycolysis? Glucose breaks down into pyruvic acid. Next, the energy released after respiration is stored in the form of which of these? Mostly the energy currency. What is the energy currency? In the form of ATP. Again, when we need energy, that ATP is hydrolyzed to form ADP plus phosphate. And the energy present in that phosphate is utilized for metabolic reactions, metabolic activities. Next question. Which respiratory organ is used by frogs when they are in water? Skin. The exchange of gases in the human respiratory system takes place in which part? Which part we have discussed? Air sacs, alveoli. Last question. Which of these is responsible for transport of oxygen in human beings. Actually, RBC transports this oxygen. So RBC is containing hemoglobin, red pigment. Okay. So this is quiz 1. So let us go for another quiz about circulatory system. The deoxygenated blood enters in which chamber of the human heart? From all body parts, deoxygenated blood collected by vena cava, it opens into right atrium or right auricle. Next, which group of animals has 4-chambered heart? Here, this is 2-chambered heart. Amphibians, 3-chambered heart. Reptiles, partly divided 4-chambered heart. But completely divided 4-chambered heart first arrived in aves or birds. Next, oxygenated blood is finally pumped out by which chamber of the human heart? Oxygenated blood from the lungs reach left auricle. From the left auricle, it opens into left ventricle. So, from left ventricle, it is distributed to all body parts by aorta. Double circulation is fully developed in which group of animals? It is fully developed in mammals. Okay, first in the aves, but later well developed, completely developed in mammals. Next, which group of animals has entirely single blood circulation, single circuit circulation? Where? In fishes. Which of these can be the value of diastolic blood pressure in the normal human beings? Normal human beings, what is the blood pressure? 120 by 80 mm of Hg. What does that 120 represent and what does that 80 represent? 120 represents the systolic pressure when the heart contracts, and the 80 represents the diastolic pressure when the heart relaxes. So here the diastolic pressure is 80. Next, which of these components of blood is responsible for blood coagulation? Means clotting of blood. So this clotting of blood takes place by platelets. Which tissue is responsible for transportation of water in plants? In plants, xylem. Which tissue is responsible for transport of food in plants? So this concept in the next class we are going to discuss. The transport of food. Conductive tissue in plants, xylem and phloem. Food is transported by phloem. What is the main excretory product in fish? Fishes are ammonotelic animals. So, ammonia. What is the main excretory product in birds? Birds are uricotelic animals. Then what does they excrete? Uric acid. What is the main excretory product in humans? We are ureotelic. So our excretory product is urea. Last question. Which is the main excretory organ in frogs? Frogs are vertebrates. So kidneys are the main excretory organs. So we discussed all these important concepts. So please subscribe our channel. Thank you for watching our video.